Hi, and welcome to the AlternaCare Academy. I'm Carrie Gray, CEO and founder, and your host. And with me is Dr. Patricia Knox, PhD in Natural Medicine, Doctor of Natural Medicine, Doctor of Humanitarian Services, Doctor of Pastoral Science, and Alternative Medicine practitioner. She is an amazing innovator and thought leader in this conversation about health and prevention and wellness and how to just help our community and be empowered with making right choices for a tomorrow that we're going to be glad that we made better decisions today for. So, Dr. Knox, thank you for joining us, and we'll let you take it away.
Well, when we were last visiting, we were talking about the importance of the fact that you don't get well by repairing a sick cell. You have to make a healthy new one. And what does it take to make a healthy cell? Well, we discussed just briefly about proteins, and we spent most of our time talking about fats and the importance of having healthy fats in our diet. All right, then we just got started just right at the end about carbohydrates and their importance because of the various nutrients that they carry with them, and that we were talking about raw carbohydrates, non-processed ones, right? We want, because it's the nutrients in there that we're looking for. We're not looking for the calories, we're looking for the nutrition. All right, it's far better to have good quality nutrition and not worry about the calories. Now, carbohydrates, though, when they are in excess, they are stored as fat. So if any of us are looking around and saying there's a little extra roll there around the middle, the hip, thighs, whatever, that is not from fat. That is from stored carbohydrates, from having taken in too many. Okay. Now, beyond carbohydrates, all right, the next thing we've got to have is quality water. We are 75% water. Our brains and our nerves are probably 85% water. And people think that having a cup of coffee counts for water. I would say about the only thing that I really think of as food that counts for water is like a really juicy piece of vine ripened fruit.
Mm.
You know, you eat a piece of fruit where the juice just drips, a peach or something, and it just drips down okay, I'll count that for some of your water. And it's because it's going to come with the nutrients and the minerals that will let that water do the work that it needs to do.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Now, with that exception, let's just say you have to drink good, clean water. And our water, unfortunately, is not good and clean. Now, it beats the dirty stuff that used to have animal feces and things like that 100 years ago. We've made tremendous strides with sanitation, but we've also gotten where, our water plants are putting in toxic chemicals, which we then are ingesting. And so I don't know how we avoid not having a good quality water filter. Now, I personally have a grander filter on my water to my house, which structures it. Big difference between structured and unstructured water, how it works inside your body. And then I also have an RO filter, which filters out lots and lots of the particles and pieces and chlorines and fluoride and so forth out of the water. Now, you can keep going a little more extreme, but do not go to the extreme of drinking distilled water.
Right.
It needs the minerals.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I heard Dr. Tennant he was an ophthalmologist, and he said what convinced him that don't ever put distilled water in your body was he had a cornea he was transplanting, and somebody put a drop of distilled water on that cornea and it immediately went opaque.
Wow.
Yeah, so he said, no, we don't want to do that with our cells. We need the salts, we need the minerals.
We do. That's another big lie that we've been handed, is that salt reduction. We don't need salt reduction. You need processed salt reduction, not salt reduction.
Right, because, well, when you think of salt, unrefined salt has anywhere from 72 to 84 trace minerals in
Oh,
it.
wow.
Uh,
Amazing.
or refined salt is just sodium and chloride, a little bit of aluminum, and a little bit of silica to make it flow freely. Now, this is really critical when you realize that inside your cells, we have two oceans of water. We have an ocean inside the cell, and we have an ocean outside the cell. They call it interstitial and intercellular, okay, or
Oh, interesting.
intercellular
Okay.
fluid, two
Okay.
ocean. All right, the ocean inside the cell should be very high in potassium. The ocean outside the cell should be high in sodium. And these differences in ions causes a electric charge shift. And that's actually, this is how we develop what I talked about before, the garage door opener that allows the cells to open and close. Well, if you're only eating sodium chloride and you don't get all these other minerals,
Now, and that's processed white table salt, right? That's what you're referring to?
right, plain
Okay.
old white table salt.
Okay.
It's purified.
Throw that stuff away. Yes, it's horrible.
Well, what it's going to do is you're going to end up with way too much sodium on the
Right.
outside of the cell.
Oh,
And so to balance the minerals, osmosis is going to take place and fluid is going to be sucked out of your cells to make the mineral balance complete between the two sides even. And so you will have cells that are absolutely starving, and yet you will be holding tons of excess weight in the form of edema and extra lymphatic fluid because of too much salt, if you will, table salt, too much plain
wow.
sodium.
Wow. Okay. So we're talking several problems all at one time here.
Yes, and, and,
Just
and all because just get yourself drinking good quality water
good quality water,
and using some unrefined salt with that water.
unrefined salt. Okay.
You do those two things, you will start to address a whole lot of potential health issues.
And didn't you say, I think you told me on the phone when we were talking about doing these videos together, that a large percentage of the patients that you see, their health problems get resolved just from drinking the right kind of water?
And drinking water at the right time, yes.
Oh, okay.
Drinking water correctly. Dr. Batman Geldy has written a book.
This is water, by the way, structured water.
Many cries for water. I think he makes the statement that 60 to 70% of all reasons, all the issues that people go to their doctor with could be resolved with simply drinking water correctly.
Okay, that's huge right there, 60 to 70%. But what are you saying? Drinking water correctly, drinking structured reverse osmosis water correctly? Is that what we're saying?
Let's just say, ideally, you should be drinking structured water that is nice and clean. It's not full of contaminants. That's ideal. All right. But let's just back up and just say, just how you time your water is
Okay.
going to make a difference, because water has a pH of 7. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the pH scale starts. We're down at acid down there at 1, and we go up to 14, and that's a very strong base. Water is the number 7 right in the middle. Well, would you drink your water it goes into your stomach? Your stomach is supposed to have pH of about 2.5 to digest meat.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you pour in while you're eating your steak water at 7, what are you going to do to the pH of your stomach?
You're messing it up. You're lowering your stomach's acid's ability to break down the food that you're ingesting. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, you're raising the pH of the stomach.
Right, which means that it's not breaking down the food, and then you're causing other problems.
Exactly. And
Wow.
so If you will drink your water, say a nice big glass about 30 minutes before you are going to eat, and have a little bit of unrefined salt with it so that you have minerals to go with your water.
A little salt in your water is what you're saying?
You can put it in your water, or I happen to
Sprinkle in your hand like that, put it on your tongue?
exactly.
Okay.
I love Himalayan salt that comes in the crystals like you put in a salt grinder.
Mm-hmm.
And I just take one of those little things and suck it under my tongue.
Okay.
And how tasty it is will tell me how much I need it.
Mm.
Really, really tasty. And it's like, oh, yum, this is salt just tastes. I want to have another one. Well, then I'm probably mineral deficient.
Wow. Okay.
Because if I take it and it's like, ooh, this is too salty, well, then I didn't need it.
Mm.
We talked at the beginning, you got to listen to your body. It's talking to you.
Okay.
And then hydrate ahead of time at this 30 minutes before your meal. Then you're going to produce enough stomach acid to digest your food. The ions that make the stomach acid are going to, if you will, make a alkaline response that once the food comes out of the stomach and goes into the duodenum, it's quickly able to be neutralized, okay, by the hydroxide ions. As you take water, you H2O, you can have a hydrogen, which is acid, and the OH, which is alkaline. Right? You put them back together, you got water again, nice pH of 7. Right? Now, your body ideally operates, well, it's not even ideally, has to operate right around 7.34 to 7.4 pH. Your body is just, your bloodstream is just slightly basic. But if you mess that up too much, if you changed your blood, you would die. Now, your blood to stay at that pH is going to strip minerals throughout your body to maintain its balance. So let's just get back to the water. You're going to drink your water, not with your meal then, because if you've had that nice big glass 30 minutes before, you're going to have plenty of saliva to digest your meal.
Mm.
Chew your food. Don't let anything come out of your mouth that's not liquid. You don't, you're not like a chicken with a gizzard that's got, little rocks in there that are going to.
It can break it down. Yes, that's right. That's what you had teeth for, right?
Exactly. That's why we have teeth. That food is to be broken up into tiny pieces. Now, one thing I noticed, Carrie, in doing this is that if I eat good food and I chew my food till it's liquid, it tastes good with every chew.
Mm.
But if I get something that has some artificial sweetener in it, or who knows what it has, the longer I chew it, I want to spit it out.
Because you can taste the chemicals.
You start to taste the chemicals.
Well, I've noticed this several times, and I'm like, this does not taste right. And even stuff that's, different drinks, or like drinks, like, like a protein, drink, mix, whatever that's supposed to, and I can taste the chemicals in it. So thank you for that, because I knew it wasn't my imagination. And I think this is what happens is when you no longer coat your taste buds with chemicals, then you can start tasting the chemicals.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, see, so, and then again, anything liquid, you need to mix saliva with it. So, let's say you're having a nice smoothie. Don't just drink that down. Make sure it stays in your mouth and you swish it around and it picks up some saliva. Your saliva is the first start of your digestive process.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
If you've had that nice big glass of water 30 minutes before you're going to eat, you will have plenty of saliva to comfortably chew and digest all your food. Mm-hmm. And then when that food hits your stomach, it's not a valve, it's a flap that goes into the stomach. And that flap is sort of dropped down, but as soon as the food enters and the acid rushes in, it shuts the flap.
But if it doesn't, that's where GERDS comes.
Exactly.
Because it's not digesting right and it's backing up.
Well, see, what happens then is if you pour in then this pH of 7 water, or even if you had a Coke or something with slightly less, it's still going to be a lot higher pH than your stomach acid of 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
It will make the food go into the duodenum too early.
And the duodenum is what part?
The start of your small intestine.
Oh, start of your intestine. Okay.
It starts. And at that point that these hydroxide ions and so forth will bring the pH back up. But if the stomach has to open up, it opens at pH of like 5.5. So if it opens too early and you've not chewed your food well, you have little meat particles and stuff still stuck in your stomach, can't float off the top and go into the duodenum, then that meat is going to sit in your stomach and it's going to rot. And the acid from a rotting piece of meat is really nasty. Okay? And there's not a big rush of this stomach acid to close the flap. So the flap is going to hang down. That nasty acid that's trying to digest those chunks of food that you didn't chew very well is going to splash up, yes. And you will have, acid indigestion and so forth. So we have several things going in here. Chew your food.
Chew your food. Don't drink with your meal, and certainly don't drink things like pop, soda, as people call it. I just cringe when I see people do it. And I've always drank water with lemon, but I can see that I need to even change that. And learn to let my saliva do more of the work. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I purposely bought little glasses that only hold 4 ounces of liquid.
Mm-hmm.
And all I will put on the dinner table is a little glass with 4 ounces.
Interesting. That's a half a cup. This is big. So that's just reminding you just to sit carefully and not wash it down. Yeah. Oh boy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then, I've heard other doctors say you need to wait at least 2 hours before you have water again. I find that personally very difficult. So my rule of thumb is drink 30 minutes ahead and not before 30 minutes after your meal.
Okay.
Now, and then of course get half your body weight in water, in ounces of water. So if you're 200 pounds, then you want 100 ounces of water throughout your day. You just don't want it with your food. You don't want to dilute your stomach acid. So
how would you say is the simplest way that people, let's just say not everybody has the finances to get a whole house filtration system. And so they're trying to make a better decision. Could they go to, say, the grocery store where they have the reverse osmosis dispensers and get like the 5-gallon dispenser of water and then do something to structure that water? Would that be a recommendation?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay.
I would do some checking. There are really expensive water filters, but there are also very good filters that are not so expensive. So
and how does a person know the difference? What would they look for when it comes to that? Because you've got the MLM approach, right? It's all about the filter. Is a lot of it's what I've come to understand. And I thought it actually had to do with, I think, isn't it the auric value, where it's the hydrogen that's in the water that makes the water absorbable to the cells for hydration purposes?
Yes. Now, one thing, though, you'll find people talking about hydrogen water, they start to get into what's really called alkaline water,
Mm-hmm.
pH being higher than 7.
Mm-hmm.
There will be people who will disagree with me. But personally, I think when God designed water, he made it 7. So I think that's what he intended our bodies to be using. And when we start getting into thinking we can be smarter and start changing things like that, then I think we're doing almost kind of the same thing, in a pharmaceutical type realm.
Mm-hmm. I have watched videos on YouTube, so I would encourage people to do this. You can go, because again, water quality is so important. There's a website, I don't remember what it's called right now. I can look it up and put it in the description of this video. But anyways, it was where you type in your zip code and it can actually tell the analysis of the water quality of where you are. So you'll see what kind of chemicals are in your water, whether it's, pharmaceuticals or it's, chlorination, fluoridation, whatever, right? Okay. I did find that. I found it was very interesting. And then I also, again, like I say, I've done a lot of research, but not really ever felt totally conclusive because I don't want to be marketed to. I'm trying to just make the decision based on the science, right? And I'm sure our community would find that to be refreshing as well. So you're helping us to make this decision. I think it's really important. But these videos that I've seen is where they put the pH, either the test strips or the drops, and they'll put it in a lot of the different commercial bottled waters. And like, for instance, Aquafina is one, and it was like a 5 point something. It was very acidic, the water. So several of the bottled waters are very acidic, and other ones the one that's from Tahiti. I'm sorry, I forgot what it's called, but anyways, what is it?
Fuji water.
Fuji water, that's the one. Yeah, Fuji, not Tahiti, Fiji. Fiji water, for instance, that one is like 7.5, right? Anyways, and of course they go on up. But the point is that it's very cost prohibitive. When you're talking about half of your weight in water, you can easily spend a couple $100 just on water if especially if you have more than one person. So that's where I've kind of looked at the, like say the reverse osmosis, the charcoal filter, where it's getting out all these different, it's like 7 layers kind of thing, where it's at least getting rid of much of the pollution that is found in our water.
Yes, I like reverse osmosis, and especially if you can have one that has a fluoride filter on it as well.
Right.
Fluoride is extremely toxic, and we'll discuss more of that later.
Right.
But the big key right now is to drink water, not soda, not power drinks, not, all these other things. Actually hydrate your body and have some unrefined salt, either it's Himalayan, Celtic sea salt, or I believe Redmond's. That's another good quality. And unrefined salt should have color to it.
Okay. That's a good visual aid to help us know when to make the right kind of salt choice.
Yeah, so you can see something that says sea salt, but
right.
Maybe this is purified as that white table salt.
Right.
It's toxic.
Something I found on the topic of salt, because again, when you're listening to the medical establishment, they'll tell you to cut down salt. And I'm like, but if you go to the hospital, the first thing they do when you're in a health crisis
is a saline solution.
Is they give you saline, which is salt water, right? So I'm like, okay, something's very hypocritical going on here. So as I delved into this topic, what I found is that processed white salt, what it actually looks like, on a cellular level, is it looks like shards of broken glass. And so when it travels through your veins, it's actually ripping the inside of your vein. So then now when you're eating things like hydrogenated oil, that oil gets caught because the blood vessel is no longer smooth, that the oil can't pass through, which obviously we don't want hydrogenated oil anyways. But the point is that it's the sodium, this processed salt, that is causing the problem. So if we just cut it out, obviously the cells of the veins and arteries can do some healing so that there aren't blockages, and you don't need things like bypass surgery later because you reversed those coronary issues.
Well said.
Thanks. Well, I'm just saying that's what I found, and I was just blown away. I did not realize that's what it is. So it isn't cutting out salt. You have to have salt because, as you said earlier, that's where the minerals come in. So you have to have the salt, but you just don't want the processed salt. And once you understand what sodium and processed salt is, then you can, again, not think convenience food, but think, okay, when you're controlling your own food, you can monitor that. And I do appreciate that part about putting it on your tongue. And if it tastes good, you need more. And if you don't need it, you back it up. That's great.
Well, and one thing to realize is that when you're having the unrefined salt, you're having these other 72, like I say, 84 trace minerals. Every one of those minerals has a role in the body. And most of them are like catalysts. so that a chemical reaction can take place where it requires less energy. Now, if you're missing something like, say, rubidium, it's a trace mineral, there might be 100,000 chemical reactions your body can no longer perform. Now, this is where we say aging comes into place. If we have another chemical, another mineral we're missing, because remember, we're just down to sodium, right? A little bit of aluminum and silica. Then there's a lot that are missing. And if every one of those has anywhere from 100,000 to 1,000,000 chemical reactions that cease to happen because we're short of trace minerals.
Right.
So the unrefined salt portion of drinking water correctly is very important.
Mm-hmm.
But just those things, drinking your water, timing it away from your food so you're not damaging your stomach acid, and having it with some, the full complement of trace minerals resolves, like I said, according to Dr. Batman-Geldig, anywhere from 60 to 70% of the reason people visit the doctor.
Wow. The power is in this right here. So that's awesome. So we can make these wonderful informed decisions and really just get into healthy habits. That's really what we're talking about, is these are just small things that make a big impact. And how amazing is it that that we're this empowered to, obviously now that we know, now we can know to do better. So thank you for sharing that information. And since we're at 31 minutes, we'll go ahead and pause. Yeah. We'll go ahead and stop this video and we'll start again with the next topic. So anything you want to say in conclusion, Dr. Pat?
That's all. We'll go on and we'll skip on to some air and some other things you need for health.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. Stay tuned.